We are good. So, all right, guys, welcome back.
3, 2, 1, let's do this.
Yeah, all of a sudden
It's been a
everybody's
while.
beards are better. It's been a busy 2 weeks as far as you guys know.
Do you notice it's getting darker? That's funny.
Is it?
That's a protocol for you. Yeah.
Mine's getting, I don't know,
Yeah.
sadder. It's finally coming back though. I looked back
You
at
went too far,
I looked back at the videos from like
Yeah.
right before I cut it, and I was like, man, what were you thinking, dude? The more you know. So this week, Julian, we want to get into the subject of fear of mistakes.
Yeah. First, little stuff. So I had a pool tournament this week.
Yes.
Last weekend, right?
Where at?
And here it's called Hus.
Okay.
Goes in English.
Okay.
Hus. In
Oh, that's
Dutch.
right. The G's are weird.
Yeah, it's not the only thing. But by the way, very interesting things. Just so you know, we went from there. We went to Brussels. 2 things. Brussels, we're like, oh fuck it, it's Brussels chocolate, dude. So it's like cheat day, fuck it.
Yeah.
Get 6 truffles, like a piece of bread with chocolate. Get 2 more truffles, and I was like, I have to stop. I don't feel good. So after that, I crashed. So first of all, that's why I'm kind of sick, because he wrecked me.
Really?
It destroyed me, like in a way. But what I found very interesting is the rest of the day, I had negative thoughts. The future of StrongFit, the stuff where I'm like, even me, I'm like, where the fuck is it coming from? Why am I almost panicking about this? But you know, like negative thoughts,
Yeah.
like not just like this won't work. It's like, you know, really down, like I'm gonna fail on
Yeah,
this.
you're
I'm
like,
on what? You know, so I'm talking to myself saying, dude, why? It's like I had that bitch in the back, just whining, not even whining, just trying to take me down. I mean,
I'm still a firm believer. Maybe I'm just a victim of some not so good self-talk, but
Yeah.
I'm a firm in any time I'm doing a thing, whether it's a new business or new project, that pretty much consumes my world. Is this like, man, Tyler, you're about to fuck this whole thing up, aren't you?
No, but I mean, StrongFit has been at it. I've been at it
Yeah,
for a while.
it's not
was
a new
just-
project.
No, but it was how negative everything felt. No, it's normal to worry about the future when you have a business and try to make it work and everything. It was just how worried I was about it. Like how there was a on a scale. Usually the scale is on the positive, and it wasn't. Like there's also good stuff. I just couldn't weigh the good. It was mostly negative, almost negative. Not self-talk, just a negative outlook on things.
The whole vibe was shit.
Shit, like that's Sunday afternoon for you, and I'm feeling like not good, by the way.
Yeah.
I didn't even have that much chocolate. It was like, oh my god, and it was exactly that. And then so the next day I wake up going like, oh, right, still feeling like shit. And Kyla is even worse than me. And then we start talking because she's completely shut off, and we start talking. And I realized that her mindset was even worse than mine. The sugar just put her full blown into, what was it, anxiety. Right away, right? Anxiety, back to self-hatred, anxiety, like the whole thing.
Yeah.
By the way, I wake up the next morning and I'm holding water everywhere. I weigh exactly the same.
Really?
And my waist is not looking the same at all. My muscles are flat. I'm holding water all around my waist. My stomach is almost distended. And I'm like, by the way, I don't know why, there is something with a distension of the stomach. Is that an English word?
Yes.
Okay. Distension of the stomach and the flight or sympathetic response or whatever. There's something about, there's a sympathetic, part of the sympathetic as the nerves right here. That's something to do with extending the stomach too much that create a certain sympathetic response. I can't remember what it is, but I've seen that with CrossFit, distended stomach. I've seen that with bodybuilders where we don't know why the stomach grows so much. We say growth hormone is creating larger organs.
Yeah,
that's not true.
all over. Yeah.
That's not true. Dorian Yates was talking about it, saying here these organs measured, they're normal. So it's not that. There's a distension of the stomach that comes from something we don't understand, like the bubble gut in bodybuilding and stuff like that, because after 12 weeks of dieting, the organs would be smaller, the stomach at least, or stuff like that. So it's not that. We don't know where it comes from, but suddenly my stomach is pushing. There's a very interesting thing with the stomach pushing forward and flight. I would love to be able to study this more in depth. Anyway, so I wake up the next morning, I'm feeling like shit. By the way, but last night, suddenly my nose starts to get weird. Like I feel I'm getting sick, and then that was all after the chocolate, because I haven't had any sugar in like 2 to 3 months, zero.
Yeah.
And the effects on me in a negative way was mind-blowing. So that's for the protocol and all that stuff. Like I'm all for carbs. Sugar, processed sugar might be evil. I'm
Probably
just
not
saying,
the one.
yeah, that one might not be good. I'm not used to it anymore, right?
Yeah.
But now I'm starting to wonder how much of like the whole negative stuff is related to that.
Plus, like, how quickly could that have spiraled out of control if you were unaware? Because all of a
You do
sudden,
that 2-3 days in a row? Yeah.
you know, and like when we were talking to Kayla, like if you get up in the morning, you train really hard and you eat pretty well mostly,
Muscles
and
are
have just
flat.
and you have just one day
Yeah, yeah.
where it's a little off the map. You just treat yourself, and then you're like, my muscles are flat. I look like shit, and I feel fucking terrible.
And I gained so much water, I'm fat again.
Yeah.
No, you just hold
So
water
then-
that you can flush in a day, but you don't know that.
And if a person doesn't quite understand that mechanism, like you can just fucking spiral.
That's
totally
the
out of
problem with
control.
thinking it's chemical.
Yeah, because you're like, I need to do more. I need to eat
Yeah,
less.
because
I can never
then
do
you
this.
think that whatever you gain will not go away.
Yeah.
Because you gain it because of the sugar.
Yeah.
No, you didn't. You gain it because of the reaction of your nervous system to it, which you can reverse the other way and flush it out right away. That's why you can flush water so fast. But if you look at it from a chemical perspective only, you'll go like, oh, sugar equals I'm fat again. No, I'll get it back. 2 days, I'll flush the water, I'll be just fine.
What's funny too is that's actually very different from a. Sometimes I'll see people who will kind of carb up
Yeah.
a little bit, not go crazy, not just like ice cream carving
Yeah.
up, but it's carved up, and you can almost see that they're fuller the next day.
Yeah.
And
But
it's
that's
odd
without-
that in your case it wasn't that; it was just basically a stress response.
Yeah, first of all, I haven't had any sugar in 3 months. So if I had carved up over rice, it'd be a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
I probably the stomach would be a bit rounder, I'm sure, but I would look fuller.
Yeah.
The skin would be a little bit different, but not like the kind of reaction I had because it was pure sugar. It was just truffles. You know, like we had as much coffee as we could, which I've lowered lately. So basically, the sympathetic response was so strong that I just held water like a motherfucker, but not that many calories.
Yeah.
So it's not like he fed the system either. So it was a very interesting. But to me, the most interesting part was how negative I was.
Why do you think that is the case, though?
I know. I'm pretty sure I know why. That's the diva brain that we talk about all the time and all that stuff. I have to go into, but most likely I'll do it in the next podcast where I want to talk about sympathetic fixes and where they sit. And let's do a podcast about that because it's behavior and the sympathetic.
Yeah.
And I start to see how much where the sympathetic is and how much it influences behavior. And I think people are unaware of all the little fixes that they look for on the sympathetic side. And that's because people love the episode we did about behavior and nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do behavior and sympathetic. So they understand where they're getting their fixes throughout the day. And it's in places where you really don't know you're doing it.
Yeah.
So that'll be the next one.
Yeah. So we'll give that one its whole
Yeah.
space. In today's case, similar, we wanted to get into a little bit about.
Right. So fear of mistake. So first of all, let's talk about the pool tournament real quick. So it didn't go that well, by the way. Won my first match, lost the next two. And why? Because I was so fucking nervous. Like my hands were like this. I was mentally this time I was good. I was there. I was like I want to win quarterfinals because it's a huge tournament in Holland, and with a very very good player from all over Europe. So it was a big one. And I went in there going like I was playing so well last week.
Yeah.
Like really well. Like anybody who plays straight pool, I ran 100 balls in two innings. I've never done that. I beat. Oh yeah, right. And then I went to a tournament like it was like 10 days ago now, 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, and I beat a guy there. That is multiple time Dutch champion.
No shit.
Yeah, so I was playing well. Didn't miss a ball the whole game. Like I was playing well. I go to the tournament and my hand is like this. Like there's some shots I had to stand up because my hand is like this. I don't remember being like that during jiu-jitsu. You know what's fucking jiu-jitsu? I was very calm physically, but my head was exploding. When I played pool on Saturday, my head was calm, but my body was like this, like I was like, I need beta
Just could
blockers or
not
something.
dial it back.
Could not.
Yeah.
And I didn't even feel like overexcited. I was like, I want to be here. Like the first time I did that tournament, I didn't want to be there. I got so flustered. I talked about it.
Yeah.
I was so flustered. I didn't want to be there. I was like, I want to go home and cry.
What's interesting too is that's so on the far side of the spectrum from where you need to be. Also, you know what I mean?
That's the last place where you want to be. You need to be calm.
Yeah, you don't get to just come halfway back. You got to.
By the way, on top of it, I'm playing on tables that are very different, and the rails are it's not a very good table that they have. It's called Gabriel. Sorry. That thing
Not
plays
a
like
sponsor.
no, exactly. No, it won't be either. That thing plays like a fucking pinball machine. Like the rails, because it's warm too. The weather changes, so it's warm, it's damp, and that affects the rails. And so anytime you put spin on the ball, it touches the rail, and it's like
off.
a pinball machine compared to the table I play on. And so I get there, and I have no control of the cue ball. Because he goes like 2 diamonds off every time I play. And that's the shit that fucks you up mentally the most, confidence-wise, is when you can't control the cue ball. In pool, you have the cue ball, object ball, and where the cue ball goes is basically decides what you do. I had very little control of it, right? Especially compared to that week where I'm playing so well. And that fucks me up even more.
So how close were you to just Bo Jackson
Never,
your fucking stick?
mentally never.
Because I would have been like,
But
it's very easy for me to be like, these tables are fucking horse shit. This whole thing's a sham.
No,
I'm out.
I'm fine, except I have Parkinson's.
Just not.
Yeah, I'm like, Tyler, I don't feel. Is that what's getting old is? It's like, honey, you're getting old. I'm going back home. Actually, she put it the story. Well,
yes, I saw that.
Did you see my hand?
Yeah.
By the way, once I get pissed, I finish the tournament.
Fine.
0. I had to get pissed first. That's a sympathetic thing. But I was in a flight. But not mentally. That's what I was like.
It was just a physical reaction.
Totally physical. So that's the thing.
Did you want to...
Mentally is the CNS.
Yeah.
That was a peripheral nervous system. That's the sympathetic answer where physically it affects you.
Mentally though, like as that starts getting away from you physically, because your heart rate's going to come up too and all this shit, like does your head start to spool up a little bit where you're just like, I can't fucking control this? Like, that starts to drag you in a little bit?
I was starting to make fun of it because that's what I discovered is if I talk about it, it's easier. So I started to make fun of myself. Like, because Carla is there, my friend Ramin was there to play too. I was like, dude, I'm so fucking nervous. I use baby powder every 3 minutes. Because like the thing starts to go. By the way, that's where the artistic thing is rough. Is the texture of the sticks change because and it's not because my hands are so sweaty. I had to clean my stick like 5 times. I have to go wash my hands because every time I come back, it sticks right here and then it burns right there. That drives me fucking crazy. So I can't play. I'm playing on a fucking pinball machine. But mentally, I was fine. I was like, no, I'm good. I want to fucking win. And what I liked about what I did is at no point, like I was down 1-3, so race to 6, right? I'm down 1-3. I was like, no, I back 3-3. Make a mistake, very young kid, by the way, that's the next world champion. He's 11 years old.
I think I saw, did you post a picture?
He's 11.
I was like, did Julian just get worked over by this kid?
Fuck yeah.
Just happened?
Oh, he can play.
But I also keep forgetting that it is pool.
It's pool,
and you're not fighting.
No, but
you know what I mean? Like
you would lose so much money playing that kid. There's another kid named Joshua Filler from Germany, and he started like that. And at 14, he was already working everybody. And now he's 21, and he just won the World Championship last year and the US Open this year.
When you get beat by a kid like that, do you just want to be like,
no, I won, by the way. So
you did? Oh,
yes,
shit.
First of all.
Shit.
And
do you ever, though, I mean, he's good.
Of course.
Ramin, you ever just want to be like...
My friend Ramin, he was, the next night, I'm like, you playing that kid and play him like you playing your coach Alex. Because trust me, don't give him anything. Because he lost. Because he kind of went like this at him and he lost. Because everybody has a problem playing him. Me, dude, I did jiu-jitsu and everything. Like, I don't care who's in front of me. Because I played the table. So I didn't care. I saw him play. I was like, I don't care.
I would lose to that kid 100
don't
out
care.
of 100 times.
Yes, you would, but
certainly. But 100 times I would come away going, I helped bench him, so fuck that kid.
Yes, he's the smallest you're like, with advantage.
But that's crazy, the amount of, that's what's interesting too, like virtuosity though, like at the age of 11.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he basically has the skill of someone with 20 years experience, just.
Mentally, he lost it a bit because he's up 3-5, race to 6, right? And so I basically won 3 games in a row, but I squeezed, play safe when I had to and stuff like that. Because mentally I was like, I didn't care.
Yeah.
I never panicked, so I was very happy. The first time I played a tournament, there it was like, we talked about it, but I was super flustered, right? Too much extra stimulus. First time I do a big tournament and everything, and literally I wanted to go home and cry, like in the middle of games, like I don't want to be here, right? Mm-hmm. This one was the exact opposite, where mentally I'm fine, it's just, I'm like this. It was fascinating to watch. It has to do with the tables as well. Like good pool players will tell you what fucks you up the most is the control of the cue ball when you start to lose it, because then you can't trust anything.
That's true, yeah.
Like I have a stroke that I like, where I play with authority on the table. I have a good stroke, and I'm like, so when I go toward doing something, I'm like, I'm going to play this with a good follow, top spin, like, when you make the thing follow. I'm going to play with a good draw. I'm going to do this. I'm going to punch the ball. And now, every time I do that, the thing goes,
something
where
different.
you going? Like, that's too far. And so you lose the next position, and
suddenly 1 + 1 = 4. You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and you're like, but so now what?
Yeah.
And you're in the middle of a game, right? And and against good players, you make one mistake per table, maybe two, usually one. And there's my one mistake. So now I lose position. I can't play the next ball. I lost the table. And now it's 3-5. And so that was hard to deal with. And so, by the way, I had because this makes sense for the podcast today, but by Sunday morning, I had learned so much because I had processed the stuff. Because the reason I can do what I can do is because I learn fast. The reason I learn fast is because I know how to learn. And what I have that most people don't is I have what I call mental mobility. Tension, range of motion under tension, right? Mm-hmm. Most people have mental flexibility. They can go from A to Z. Yeah, but they can't apply tension.
There's no control.
And no tension.
Yeah.
Like the second you put tension, it's like, going overhead. Like you can do that shit, but the second I put tension, you're stuck here because your pec won't let you. It's exactly the same thing mentally. People cannot apply tension.
It's the mental equivalent to, have you ever taught a really, really good person who's very skilled at yoga how to squat with weight?
Yeah.
All of a sudden it's like, you can tie yourself in knots and you barely can bend your knees with any weight.
Yeah.
And it's crazy.
Yeah. Once you engage properly, it's not there.
So mental mobility is the name of the game.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where I'm at. That's where I'm the best at.
Yeah.
At least better than most.
I remember I used to do in strongman competitions, especially if you do ones that have a decent crowd, which is getting better over the years. But,
Thank you, have to.
The crowd would be the thing where I can use it if I had to just fucking kill. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But the problem is, it's strongman, not endurance man. But some of these events are 60 to 120 seconds long.
Yeah. When it's heavy, it's long. Okay?
When it's heavy, that's a really long time.
Yeah.
But
Kala is in the back laughing. It's heavy.
I had a competition that had a tire flip one time. It was 2 minutes max distance.
That fucks you up.
And I'm like, what the fuck is this?
You don't do that. That's CrossFit.
It's not an endurance man
exactly.
competition. So but I would always remember, you'd come up and especially, you have the pressure of the situation. All right, I'm first place, last event. The last guy killed it, so all I have to do now is just go all out and die, because it's the only way you're gonna beat that. But the problem is that still does require a certain measure of control, because you can't just spin out of control in the first second. And so, but the crowd gets going. It's one of those things like, fuck. Like if I just had to flip this tire one time as aggressively as possible, you guys would be helping me. But now, so I did get pretty good at just. I could shut that off, or at least moderate it back, and then
but
get to the point.
Top effort.
Still keep the effort there, and then once I'm out, when I can't produce anymore, then I can lean back on the noise and all that other stuff. But that control works very well in a power thing for me. But if I have to be precise, because I can't get from here to here. But I can get from here to here and not flip the fuck out, but just barely.
But that's why the pool is for.
Yeah.
Is to teach me that, because it's the same thing. Like if there's people watching and everything, it's a power event, I'll excel. Mm-hmm. But now it's pool. Well, this is not helping.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. But I learned so much by the next morning. So sugar comes in now on Sunday, right? So everything feels like shit. And I had a 3-hour lesson with my coach this morning, and I played horribly. Can't make a fucking ball. Like it's not even my C game. It's
probably the coach's fault, probably.
Always. It's a C- game if it's not a D game, right? And so, but after 3 hours, I finally figured out what happened at house and why I'm playing like this. What happened is, so I like to, how you go toward the shot is very important, right? Because you have to know what you're going to do before you do it. You can't just look at the ball and go, I'm going to, because then everything changes and everything. Like whether you want to follow or draw, or in my case, punch the ball, it's going to affect my aim and my position and my stroke. Those are all different strokes on the table.
You can't be second guessing along the way.
And no, so because once you're in the shot, there's only one shot.
Yeah.
So everything before that is what you do is you go, I'm going to do this, and then you start here, then you put it there, and then you feel the shot, and then you deliver, right? So you can't have 3 shots at once. And so I like to go and then like I'm gonna fucking kill that ball. I'm gonna make a nice follow. That wasn't working in house because the fucking pinball table just would throw me off. So what I realize now that I end up doing is I end up making myself weaker so the cue ball wouldn't be carried away. So instead of keeping so that's what I realized today I was doing. Instead of keeping the authority of my posture and my stroke and say just control the stroke better, what I did is I made myself weaker so that I wouldn't lose the cue ball.
You pulled everything down, basically.
Exactly. I pulled myself down. We go back to the
instead of adapting
prediction,
the shot,
and that's the Carl
everything got
Friston
small.
thing, where you don't change. You either change the world or you change yourself. Like instead of changing the world, I changed myself. I made myself weaker so that I would have control of the cue ball. Of course, it's not what you want to do.
Because on the fly, the first thing that happens when something that you fucking, God, that thing's got to go where I need it to go, and it doesn't happen. You're like, well, it's fucking me.
Instead,
it's
exactly.
Me. Shut this shit down.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I did. So instead of playing with more authority, so that's what I discovered 2.5 hours in, and I was like, I get it. And of course, my coach was like, careful when you say you get it. That's, you know what? It's what Voltaire said. It's like seek the people that seek truth, but beware the ones who find it. It was the same thing when someone tells you I have it, bet more money because it's about to fuck up, right? But I was like, no, I don't mean the position. I mean, I understand what I did. So instead of basically going no, keep the same stroke, just fucking control it, get better. Mm-hmm. Instead of that, I weakened myself. Instead of changing the world, which is different environment, control the stroke better, do more, do better. Sorry, do better. I weaken myself as a person. And so that and of course I fucked up everything, fucked up my position, my stroke, and after that, playing was so hard.
You basically down-regulated your entire game.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I did. And so 2.5 hours, I'm like, what the fuck is happening? And I was like, I don't get it. Especially last week, playing so well. I was like, what is happening? And 2.5 hours in, finally I figured it out. I was like, and then the second I went back to the ball going, no, it's me. Mm-hmm. And then they started going in and my stroke is coming back and I'm like, that was such a moment of clarity this morning because of that.
And when you talk about
but see, to learn that, I had to go fuck it up at a tournament.
Yeah, and you talk about learning fast via mental mobility. That's exactly it. It's like, well, I was here, I ran all over here, I fucked it up, I did this, bop, bop, bop. Now I get it.
But can you
get it?
Yeah,
get as far as a guy gets it at this
Alex
point.
We'll have something to say about that one. But that's, by the way, but I could not have learned it had I not gone there. Mm-hmm. Right? It's not like make mistake and learn. No. You learn by making mistake and learning from the mistake. It's not just making mistakes. That's easy. My daughter can tell you. It's not that. It's you have to learn from them. So there's an entire mindset that goes with that, and there's actually a reason why it exists. I'll go into the selfish brain theory, but it's not a mistake. It's the people I think like you try and you will succeed and learn, make mistakes or learn. No. Feeling like shit is part of the process. It's a necessary step, and I will explain why. But if you don't go there into feeling that badly, and this morning playing like shit for 2.5 hours in front of my coach, that's even worse. Mm-hmm. And the entire lesson this morning was mental game, right? And so and I also discovered, so don't let me get away from that, but I discovered something else. Kyla, you're in charge of telling us where we are. I discovered something, because we started talking and I realized something. Do you know where I fucked myself up the most? Sitting on a chair watching the guy play.
While you're playing him, he's there and you're sitting. Because I'm still on. And he was like, and that's a mistake. So they had a heart rate monitor on pool players during one of the main Eurovision matches, and they discovered that the heart rate was at the highest on the chair. Really? The stress was at the highest on the chair, not playing. It's a control thing, it sounds like to me. Like you're just busy trying to control things that are far beyond. I can tell you, and you're the one playing. Yeah. He's playing and you're playing, and then every time you go, he's gonna miss. No, he didn't shoot him. Ooh, he made that. Ooh, what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. You can't control it, it's not you. Yeah, you're better off just showing up. Oh no! When it's your time. Yeah. Oh no! Because you don't. By the way, but to do that, you have to take yourself off and back on. So that's a skill. Can you bring yourself back on when you move to the table, which you have to do to reset your energy? But that requires of letting go and coming back every time. Imagine the skill that represents. That's learning. Yeah. And so what you have to do is you have to watch the guy
Like he's playing like almost like a coach. Oh, he's using that stroke. Oh, that was, but not involved emotionally.
Yeah, you have to be really objective at that point.
But you can't be cold and detached because you're gonna have to come back, and you need the feel to play well. You need the emotions.
Yeah.
So, but that's where the heart rate was the highest. Isn't that fascinating? So, talking to my coach this morning,
I can totally see that. Playing sports, there's nothing worse like football game.
Yeah, than watching
the other team's got the fucking ball, and you're up by 1, and you know all they got to do is get to field goal range, and the fucking thing's just gonna fucking happen. It just does. And
you want to be on defense at that moment instead of watching. Yeah, because on defense at least you can do something.
Yeah. And even then, sometimes you just feels like you just can't. Because it's the one thing, like if you have the ball, you can do what's going to be done with the ball.
Yeah.
Other than that, man, you're just, I don't know, it's that passive
I'll still
thing.
take being on defense over watching from the sideline.
For sure.
Because that's,
sure.
I did not know that, and that was a conversation this morning. And I was like, yeah, that's what, so then, because then I started to look back, and I realized my worst moments came after emotional trauma, sitting on the chair, watching the guy either get lucky or stuff. It's like, dude, yeah, well, because plus being me, I'm looking for patterns. What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. He got lucky.
Yeah, because he's going to give you what he gives you at that point.
Plus some shots he made, others he went his way. It doesn't mean anything. God still loves you.
Plus, if you're standing there at the table, and the first thing in your head is like, this motherfucker got so fucking lucky.
Yes,
His last
exactly.
fucking 2 days, like, I should have been in this situation. And now I'm in this one.
I should be up 3-2 instead of down 2-4.
Yeah.
And
flip the table over. Like
exactly, but I can't. Fuck. Yeah. So that's where I wish can I go back to strongman and use that as anger against or fighting against my opponent? I have to beat him with that fucking stick.
Poor 11-year-old.
Yeah. No. That's the second guy. That kid was good. Like he got frustrated too much. Like that's why you see he's 11. Yeah. The skill is adult. Mentally, he got frustrated. When I started coming up, he was 3-5, and then I cleared the table. Then it's 5-4, and then 5-5, and then he made a mistake, so he gave me ball in hand, and I cleared, and that's where he'll grow. But that's the next world champion.
That's crazy.
Give him 10 years, world champion. I can tell you that. Like the skill level is ridiculous. It's so cool to watch. I played him like an adult. Like, do not play him like a kid. Don't make that mistake. I'm telling you right now, do not make that mistake.
Do not be nice. He's a fucking murderer.
Play safe, grind him, break him mentally, make him cry.
Yeah.
I have no problem making 11-year-olds cry.
Tear your sleeves off for that one.
Exactly. Like, I'll beat you up after, little shit. So the learning process, though, comes from, like, for example, I have to be, for me to realize what I did on the chair, I have to be on the chair first and fucking lose my mind. Mm-hmm. And after, I have to have the 2.5 hours with my coach this morning playing like shit. Again, in front of your coach, it's not a good feeling.
Yeah.
Like you're the guy, he's the guy you're trying to please. Because he's your coach, always. You always try to please your coach.
Why then, when people think of learning, I like to think of it as like this massive just moments of epiphany that just rain down upon you.
Yeah.
And it's like, I learned this, and then I learned this. It's like, that very rarely is the way it works.
No, it is. Just after. Yeah. The problem is you're missing the step before. You're trying to skip the step before that lead you to the moment of epiphany.
And when you see people who progress and learn and do lots of things like that, you're also not seeing that hard part of the process. Very often
they're telling you all the time, you're just not listening.
Well, for certain.
Yeah. But that's what I want to talk about today.
It's hard. You want to turn that off.
Exactly. Is to go like, no, I don't have to do that.
Yeah.
Me, I'm different. I want to talk about that process, right? What it takes to get to the moment where you get the epiphany, because the epiphany has come through certain steps. We try to think that the epiphany just happens. God loves me. Mm-hmm. I'm successful. That's what there's that part as well, and it has nothing to do with that. Like you went through certain steps first, except maybe over time you didn't realize, or you realize that frustration, all the shit you felt before, led you to that moment. Because it's a lot easier to think learning is, you're waiting also for the magic pill. Like that epiphany moment, like, la, angels are singing, which is true, there will be one, but before that, there'll be 35 moments. Mm-hmm. And 34 of them will be me this morning going, like 2.5 hours in, I'm like, the reason also I learned faster is because for 2.5 hours, I'm like, I'm not letting go. I'm in it, good, bring it on. That's where mental mobility comes in. Is can you be in the shit? So we all know how that feels to fail in front of your coach, and whether it's a snatch movement or that stuff. And can you go in it and going like, No, we're not stopping. We're doing this all morning until, like, coach do that to you. But can you be the one sitting in it going like, yeah, let's keep going. I'll keep failing. But the why will occur to me at some point. And it's not, with pool, it's not a physical fail. I mean, you miss the ball, but there's something you're doing wrong. And I was like, all right. So you have to bump in the corners of your head until you go, oh, and that's where I'm good at. I was like, let's keep on doing this. 3 hours straight, by the way, it's exhausting.
That's a process that could probably take people much, much, much longer.
Because they don't know how to learn.
Yeah.
Right? But because, again, they don't have the mobility. To learn, you have to learn. The faster you want to learn, the more mental mobility you need to have. Mm-hmm. And mental mobility is the capacity to, so it's a range of motion with tension.
Yeah.
Right? Just having flexibility to be able to go mentally from A to Z, that's easy without tension. The question is, whenever you put pressure, can you stay there? You can contemplate you not being good at yourself. Yeah, at your desk, when there's nothing around, you're having a cup of coffee, you're like, I should be doing this. Yeah, okay. Can you do that under tension? Can you do that at a tournament? While you're losing, can you still not freak out and go like, what do I need to do to win? Even if it's you're down 5-0. Can you do that in front of your coach? After 3 hours of failing the same movement and you feel embarrassed and you feel you're failing him, and you are, and you should be embarrassed because you fucking suck for 2.5 hours and I'm on my D game, right? But he's laughing because like, yeah, I know, but can you come back? That's where you learn. But does it feel good? No, fuck no, it doesn't. Not right up to that moment you go, that pressure has to build. It's mental mobility, right? And that's what matters, is that. So what happens when you don't have it? I'm going to start with that.
I think we see a lot of things we put out a lot of things that have a lot of full context around them, but it's really hard, or that require a lot of context, if you will. It's very hard within the formats. Even a 60 to 90 minute video on YouTube is sometimes, I'm sorry, but college is not condensed into 60 to 90 minute fucking session. You don't learn this subject in 60 minutes. So we're kind of doing the best that we can, but I see very often that lack of mental mobility, if you will, or flexibility that comes in when someone is even presented with something that challenges them at all, either physically or what they know.
Someone is presented with something they know very little about.
Yeah.
That's the part that gets me.
Yeah.
And yet they come at it with almost a sense of moral superiority, saying like, you're gonna have to prove it to me.
For sure.
That's what bothers me. And I'm like, no, I don't, first of all. And second of all, you come from a place where you know almost nothing. You have not studied the subject, you have not read about it, you have not done any of this. What allows you to come at us, or by the way, it's not just us, because everybody gets it on the internet, but what allows you mentally to go, for example, at us when we talk about a subject, where when I talk about the nutritional stuff, this is obviously stuff I studied a lot. I've read all the thing, but people that have read close to nothing on the nervous system, they might have read Muscle and Fitness and the Skinny on 3 studies, or what is that called, the Skinny on a study? The protocol? No. The abstract. They've read 3 abstract on a study, the stuff like that. Suddenly they're in a position of moral superiority saying, well, you're going to have to explain that one to me. I'm like, explain what? You haven't read anything on the subject.
Plus rolling through it's like getting the Cliff's Notes version of everything where like you still don't understand. This is my favorite thing because I do this all the time. Like somebody will mention something about, let's just say it's a fucking band that I don't like. Mm-hmm. The first thing I'm gonna Google is the name of that band and the word sucks. and then whatever pops up, I'm gonna be like, I fucking told you, dude.
Yeah.
You know, but that's the way you can do it. But I've done it before. Like I've just popped up like, I don't wanna learn about ketogenic diet. I wanna learn why it's bullshit.
Yes.
And I'll literally Google the words, ketogenic diet, bullshit. I'm just gonna fucking read what pops up. And so it's very easy to get stuck in, it's the equivalent to the political echo chambers where you're just not mentally mobile enough, or you're not even trying.
Why does that exist? That's what I want to talk about
today. Really, really comfortable. That's what I think.
Yeah, but I think I want to go at it from 2 different things. I want to go at it from a cultural background, and I want to go at it from neurological background. Okay. So first, let's talk about the cultural background. I'm going to use 2 examples. We made a post about Kyla, whose nickname is Kayla. Do
her parents know that That you've renamed her?
No, parents don't know I exist. The French guy with a neck tattoo. By the way, guys, that's my family crest. Did you see that?
Oh, that's okay. I did. That's really dope.
That's my family crest.
I put a couple images together for it, and it was on there. I was like, a lot of people are going to ask. And I sent some to John. I sent some to John for the website, and the first thing he said, he's like, "Did Julian get a tattoo on his head?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "John, you're supposed to be paying." Like you posted you doing the tattoo on social media. And I'm
John,
like,
you're fired.
I'm like, John, you work here.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. How dare you? I pay you.
My mom knows that you got it.
I'm sure your mom knows. It's like now he has a neck tattoo. It's my family crest. My great grandmother was the Duchess of Oraison. So we had a castle where actually, where Louis Pasteur founded the vaccine, was in a castle that belonged to my family.
No
on
shit.
my mother's side. Yeah, it was my great grandmother, I think, was the Duchess of Oraison. So we had a castle, and so that's what this is the story of the family, because that's what family crest is.
Yeah.
So funny thing. So that's what the 3 stars. Those are because Duchess is about as high as you go before being a prince or stuff like. Anyway, French nobility. So there's a reason why there's 9 spots on the crown. There's a reason why the 3 stars, and then the king is obviously royalty. But you'll see the stripes like this. Mm-hmm. That's because there's a bastard in the family. That's what stripes on the crest means. That's why you'll see most of them are.
So it just takes one bastard and they stripe the whole fucking thing
that
out?
people are that you can't deny.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you can sneak some away and keep
But
things
that's why
clean.
you'll see crest without the stripes.
Yeah.
It's because that means it's pure. Mine
see.
isn't. So I was destined to be like this. It's in my blood, man. Fucking things up and going against the.
I don't know how the fuck we ended up on this though.
No, because I'm showing my tattoo. That's why I don't know why. What did I talk
No.
about
Where
the
were
tattoo?
we going though?
No. The guy, the Kyla picture.
Oh, okay.
Right. Hey, no, I remember.
Okay.
And I can follow this.
I was like, man, I'm pretty good at keeping shit close on.
Come on, they're used to it by now.
Right.
It's because we haven't done it in a while. So, I posted a picture of Kyla saying, look, now she's 162, same basically body fat as before, except she's 5 pounds heavier. Well, actually, I was wrong. And so, but anyway, there's a guy that comes and say you can't say that. She gained 6 pounds of muscle because she's at the same body fat percentage, except 6 pounds heavier. She gained muscle. And the guy said you can't say that. Some dude, as usual, is the fittest in Aruba.
I don't know what that means.
It's some kids from a Danish kid. He's like 20 something, but of course, yawning, jawing like all of them. And he's like, well, did you keep track of? He had the whole thing about calories and saying, oh, well, you have to keep track of calories. I'm like, a calorie is a calorie, which is the thing that annoys me the most out there. Is like, you're telling me a calorie of ice cream, same thing as a calorie of protein. Anyway, that's so stupid. I don't even want to get into it. But
if we reduce it purely to the sake of its thermo effect, then whatever.
It
but
doesn't.
Like, Jesus Christ.
Calorie is the amount of energy required to heat a liter of water by 1 degree. It doesn't do shit for the body.
Yeah.
So people have to stop with that shit. Macros is a little bit better, but still, it's not the point. It's the effects on you. Anyway, so, and then I go like, well, what else could it be? Like, right, so she's looking exactly the same, if not leaner, right? She has
Maybe her feet got bigger.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, what else could it be but her gaining muscle? If she has not gained fat, then what is it? And he's like, well, it could be water. But water weight will make her look different.
Yeah.
If she's visibly
leaner.
just as, now then what? How could she, if there's a way to gain water while looking leaner, that means the water goes into the muscle.
Yeah.
Like every bodybuilder would pay me $1 million for my secret.
Yeah.
If there was a way to do that. But anyway, but he's like, but you can't say that, you have not done a DEXA scan and all that shit. I'm like, but common sense, logical evidence alone would tell you she gained muscle. Like, you can't say that. Then he went into the whole empirical evidence, and again, moral superiority by posing as a scientist purist. All right, so we went to do the test, and it turns out that she's 15% body fat, which is 1% more than what she was at her leanest, which was 14%, obviously, but when she was at 14%, she was 148. She's now 162. So she gained 1% of body fat with 12 pounds. 1% of 150 is 1.5 pounds. What do you think the rest is? So it's measured, her body mass index went up. So muscle mass went up, so she gained muscle. I'm like, yeah, no shit. What else could it have been?
Yeah.
But the fact that, you know what I mean?
And it's the weird thing. It's like so you see the thing and you're just gonna go, all right. Well, those words just don't seem to fucking align with the words someone else beat into my fucking ears. And I don't understand that. That's an approach to the internet. I just don't get.
But look at that fear. It's a fear of making mistake. Those are people that won't even try the stuff.
I sent you the thing yesterday.
Exactly.
Louis Simmons at Westside had come up with a new machine, and his machines, whether you use them or don't, you can get lots of fitness without them. But
he does good machines.
But it's good machines, and
the guy makes really good machines.
Are they required for you to get stronger? Fuck no. You can do lots of things without it. But like, there's a reason that some machines are just cool because they do a certain thing, right? It doesn't need to not exist.
Yes,
you know what
exactly.
I'm saying? That's what I don't.
It does not change your world.
But so they posted. It's this new machine. It's kind of the launch of it or whatever, and they just kind of showed what it does and just said, help with the abs, hip flexors, and hamstring engagement. And yeah, it looks to me like that's probably what it does. Whatever angles it is, who gives a shit, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and one of the second questions on the thing was, are there any scientific studies to back up your claims about this machine? I'm like, this thing's not even for sale yet. Like, but fuck you.
Like, if you first of all,
like, also here's the thing: he's not designing fucking pharmaceutical drugs here. Yeah. He can come up with a machine. He can hook a pulley to some weight and change directions with it, and he can fucking sell it. And fuck you if you don't like it.
Don't buy it.
Yeah, it's really
Such an easy way.
Because I hate to break it to you, the kind of guy that's going to ask for the studies behind that probably isn't dropping $1,500 on Louis' new machine, anyways.
It's probably not training either.
Also, profile picture, not much of a lifter, as far as I can tell.
Exactly. That's always like it. But again, those are the people unwilling to try. Mm-hmm. And what they're doing is they're appealing to a greater authority.
It's and I sent you the same thing. It was a Jim Wendler quote in reference to that, where he was like, "You want a scientific study?" He said, "Fuck you." He said, "I got fucking blood, sweat, tears, and vomit, years of them. Like, fuck off."
No, because they have to understand. They're not denying. You have to understand where those people come from. They're not denying science and the importance of it.
No.
They're just tired of a bunch of fucking whiners out there that have never spent a day lifting, that go out there and say shit. So, for example, in the case of Jim Wendler or a guy like that, look where we are. There's and then I have the second example I want to go into as to why this is, I believe, happening from a cultural perspective. There was a study from the University of Australia. I wonder if at some point that university, the strength and conditioning department is legit, because they come up with shit every time. I'm like, this looks like a troll farm almost. No, but okay, so they do a study where they said that reverse grip bench press, so for people just listening, it means instead of thumbs, it's basically supinated grip, right? Thumbs facing away instead of, facing each other. Engaged the upper pec 25 to 30% more than an inclined barbell press. And then they go into that and because they have a study over 40 people, whatever it was, 60 people, can't remember. But they basically, and then their conclusion is that we've been doing it wrong. Like, the incline press does very little. The engagement of the incline press versus a bench press was maybe like 10% more the upper pec, but the reverse grip did the upper pec so much more. I'm like, all right, so you take one study like that, done over 30 people, 60 people, whatever. That's empirical evidence that we should believe is the truth, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas if I go the other way and I ask 1,000 pro bodybuilders for the last 50 years, let's say 50 years, that will all tell you the same: incline pressing gets bigger upper pec, way more than supinated bench press. That's anecdotal evidence.
Yep.
1,000 pro bodybuilders who done the shit for their entire life do not know as much as those 30 pencil necks you put through a study that don't even know how to bench and probably use their traps the whole time.
Exactly. That's always the thing, is you go back to, do these people fucking know how to do it? You know what I mean? Like,
that keto stuff, did you see what they call an intermediate lifter? 6 months to 5 years of lifting. Even 5 years, I'm like, give me a fucking break. What the fuck do you do in 5 years?
Plus, the thing is 5 years versus 6 months. Those are two very fucking different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But even 5 years in powerlifting, I'm like, guys, I'm sorry, like, you're barely getting there. It takes you 10 years to get strong.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, like, but you know, like, the idea that if we look at the way, by the way, if we look at the way, I want to go culturally, then I want to go the scientific route on that, because if we're going to believe that as the truth, those, by the way, you know nothing about the 30 people tested. Very little. You don't know how they did the movement. You don't know if they did the movement correctly or not. But this is supposed to be truth. Where me going around asking pro bodybuilders what they think and getting the same answer from 99% of them, and that's anecdotal bullshit evidence we cannot do. So what you're doing is you're negating the human side completely and just appealing to an hypothetical higher authority.
Yeah.
Sounds very familiar, right? That's what they're going at. And so to go back at that, third example, there's a dude who commented on Facebook because he's from another training system that is very set in their ways, whose leader is an asshole who likes to challenge everybody because they're doing that to promote their own business. You know who I'm talking about.
Certainly.
I will not say the name, but you know what I'm talking about. And this is about business, nothing else. That's why they have an issue with us right now. So what he was saying is that StrongFit is doing well because I'm a very charismatic person. But the system without me does not exist because what I do is not science-based. So what they're saying is he's a cult. Like I'm, whatever that Indian guy is, like whatever, I can't remember his name. You know, like the dude who uses quantum mechanics to...
You were going to say Umpa.
No, I was not going to be racist, Kyla. Do not put me as a racist person on the internet. But that dude that uses quantum mechanics when he has no fucking clue what he's talking about, right? But anyway, right? So he's saying that's what StrongFit is because people like me. Like he actually said that. Mm-hmm. People love Julian. So you don't buy StrongFit, you buy Julian. I'm like, first of all, I'm not a whore, thank you. But okay, so I go into the conversation and then I'm like, and the first thing he says, like, you have to acknowledge your mistakes, first of all. And I'm like, I do it on the podcast all the time. I do it on the mentoring program all the time. It's like, well, I don't know your mentoring program because all he did was one seminar, one coach's week, a year and a half ago. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, and he's like, you can't acknowledge your mistakes. I'm like, first of all, that is not true.
Here's the thing too, is if a year and a half ago, you, on a couple of issues, you have since changed your approach to them.
Yeah. How would you know?
And admitted that this was wrong because I thought this, but now because of this, I think this instead, right? Well, if you fucking paid attention, you would understand that. One, you would understand then that now I'm not wrong, because I'm not in the business of being right now. I can't be all the time, right? Neither are you.
No, but plus, sometimes I'm just not precise.
Yeah.
And I'll say it's like this is more or less, but I'm not sure yet.
Yeah. Like the whole picture just becomes clearer with time and effort, you know? And it seems like if you jump into something and then you jump out of it, and 2 years of evolution later, you're just going to be like, everything is horseshit.
We're talking out of people that are using the results of what we do, by the way.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
All the time. And so is he. In his own gym, but he's saying, the only thing good with him is assessment and structure. I'm like, so I start to go into it, and I'm like, he's like, you can't even measure the parasympathetic nervous system. I'm like, yes, you can. It's called what? Physioneurobiology. There's a number of tests, and by the way, iris dilatation, blood flow, HRV, digestion. Like, there's so many ways of testing nervous, the parasympathetic versus sympathetic. There's called the APN test. There's so many. It's been studied for the last 100 years. Of course there is.
Yeah.
Just because I didn't mention it on a podcast with the asshole doesn't mean that there is not all those tests out there. And so I'm like, okay, so I start to list them. You're like, well, I don't know enough about that.
Certainly.
I'm like, exactly. That's my point. And then we keep going on it. I mean, I'm like, but first of all, why are you so afraid of making mistakes? He's like, of course I make mistakes. And he's like, you don't acknowledge your mistakes. I'm like, stop saying I'm a cult leader who just because you saw a clip of me of 30 seconds on Facebook taken out of the 8 hours of my seminar
of
someone who took it as to make a point about something I was saying about school does not mean I don't have certain stuff to back it up. I'm just not a motivational speaker trying to rile people up, because that's what he's trying to make me into. And I was like, but you don't even know the system. You haven't seen the podcast. You don't even know. He's like, you even talk about diet based on nervous system. The world is far more complicated than that. I'm like, of course the world is complicated, but that's not my point. Why don't you challenge me on the logical points that I was making based on nervous system and how we apply it to nutrition? No one ever does, by the way. Still, to this day, no one ever challenges me on the logical points I'm making. The only challenge I get is like science, empirical evidence.
Well, the question is, it's you give me the science. That's what they want, is you need to give me the science.
You need to make me understand.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You need to be the higher authority. And I'm like, but I'm not God. That's the problem. And so, I might be Prometheus, but that's another problem. So it's a joke, people. I don't actually believe that. So he keeps on going, and I'm like, okay, but you're Isaac Newton made mistakes. As great as the laws of movement are, quantum mechanics has proven that it doesn't always work like that. So in a way, he was wrong on certain things, and so was Einstein, and then he went into it saying, like that's the all science. Like all those guys, like Isaac Newton was doing what he was doing based on anecdotal evidence, and that they were exactly. Do you know what? When I read that, I was like, I'm good. I wasn't even pissed anymore because that's so fucking stupid. I was like, I'm out of the conversation. So he started to blast Isaac Newton, saying that's all science, and then he went on to say that today's science is so much better. Now we know what we are doing.
The problem is today's science is quote better.
No,
I mean, even if I remove what conspiracy fan Tyler has lots of things to say about fucking the way science operates right now, but with government and money and corporate influence. But on the other side of that, like. Science has just evolved. I mean, you got to remember, the best scientists in the world were telling you the world was flat. And now, up to a certain point, the scientists now, they said, oh, well, okay, the earth is round. Well, then the best fucking minds in the goddamn world were going to tell you that the sun goes around the earth.
No, but
and then they changed that.
He's saying that today we have a rigor of science that Isaac Newton did not have. That's the most, and he called himself a science purist. So first of all, Isaac Newton did not do stuff on the anecdotal evidence, he did it on logical evidence. He created calculus, math, logical evidence in order to further study. First, you dream about insulting Isaac Newton, you wake up and apologize. This is the greatest genius the world ever had. Like, how dare you think you're fucking better than him? The guy invented calculus at 24 over the summer to basically prove a point about the ellipse of the moon around the earth. Fuck you, first of all. And you're blasting all those people saying science is better today. No, it is not. But there is no such thing as science. There are scientists, right? There is no such thing as science. Science is a word. There is no such thing as science. There's just a bunch of scientists. And science has always evolved one way, which means there's one guy that has the balls to stand up and say, I have a new idea. And then when he's right, then we all follow that guy into whatever rabbit hole he's taking us. Isaac Newton, Copernicus.
Plus, amidst that
Einstein.
process, there's a whole lot of people whose money or thoughts are challenged by this new idea.
Yeah.
And there's fucking tons of resistance that entire time.
Galileo.
Locked away.
Galileo almost had to say, okay,
fine, you're right.
It's the sun around the earth.
Yep,
I'm not going to burn for that one.
Yeah. So I think that is, like, just because our scientific, methods or devices or technology has improved, that doesn't make any sense.
Okay, but can we talk about this for a second? Because I want to talk to Conspiracy Tyler for a second.
Fucking guy, yes.
How does
Before we go, Conspiracy Tyler, my family has been away for almost 3 months, which means I have a lot of time by myself. And I have been a conspiracy enthusiast since I was a child. Mm-hmm. So Conspiracy Tyler now represents about 90% of my personality.
There you go. So they talk about empirical evidence like it's the only way to prove. Yes, you can. So anecdotal evidence allows you to have an intuition, to feel something. Logical evidence allows you to run through the arguments as to why yes and no. Then you test it through empirical evidence, right? Empirical evidence means like double-blind study, whatever. You take people, right? You take 30, you test them, and then you test them again, changing this to see what sticks, what doesn't, to establish causality. All right, we're not doing any of that in today's world. Like, the idea that we're doing better now than then is absurd, because a study that you have is never repeated with the same people, very little of them, especially in the fitness world. When you have a study, you have 30 people, and we do that, but those studies are not repeated, and certainly not on the same people, and not for longer enough. That idea, like the way Aristotle defined empirical evidence, is not the way we do things today. Like, you guys are dreaming if you think this is the higher authority of science right now. Most of the time, so empirical evidence will be basically the same test being applied the same way on different people to establish causation. Yeah, but guess what? The type of test that you do, the testing itself, right, and how you measure it will change the study. You take the same people, same exercise, but change the way you study it, change the method of measurement, stuff like that, you would get completely different results. It's like testing body fat. Whether you do it with the water tank, whether the in-body versus DEXA, you'll have slight different percentages. Because it doesn't matter. What happens that you do on the same machine all the time, so you have an idea where you're going with this.
Because the trend is what matters.
The trend is what matters, but what is required is that you go through the same machine over time. So it's still, and we'll see how that changes you. That over a large number, we can establish patterns. But guess what? We're not doing that. Yes, in theory, we're doing it. In the practical application of today's world, especially fitness industry, we're not. We have keto diet. We take 50 people and we say, see, like remember Sam Harris saying 50% of studies in today's science are not replicable.
Yep.
Yeah, because we don't even know who we're testing on. We don't know, like you could make, if you were so inclined, let's say if you had money and a business interest somewhere, you could create a way of measuring specific things that favor you, that favor your position. And that guy I'm talking about who's saying he's a science purist, I can be a science purist and understand the difference between anecdotal and logical evidence. Then where is your purity coming from? Because it looks muddy to me.
As a purist, it's like, if you're I don't know, if you're truly a science purist, you like the art of the science, which is the whole thing, right? But what science as its execution is, and you saw Arm & Hammer had that interview with Greg Glassman here that he did just a little bit ago, and they even said one of the main things CrossFit is doing with their health initiative is to try now to go after, and they've proven and presented plenty of really good evidence now that like Coca-Cola, Gatorade, these massive companies are paying for research to prove, and he addressed it solely from the hydration space, but basically then having science prove
whatever they want
to say.
It's not that hard to do.
And then that they came at that with a bit of an axe to grind when it comes to CrossFit as well. That the same people paying for these sciences are the same people then that are putting together legislation in order to then require CrossFit instructors to register like they would if they were physical therapists and have to, it's just trying to bury that industry to promote their own. And that's fucking chess, dude. It's how it works. Like, that is how it works. This is business influencing science. And that is literally the way a capitalist democracy works.
Capitalism is the worst thing that could happen to, maybe not the worst thing, but one of the worst things that could happen to science in that sense, especially after World War II. Like, that's where I get upset. It's like, but you people don't seem to understand the implication of the business world in the fitness industry. The idea that we run empirical evidence in that way, like even that guy who was saying that he's part of a system, you know exactly who I'm talking about. They have a way of measuring that favors their own business model. They have a tiny section of a tiny section, right? And their measurements always fit their business model. I'm like, guys, come on, like the biases that I've seen this, how they do things. I've seen it's coaches studying their own people, and of course you're going to be biased towards showing that what you do does results. I'm not mad at that. I'm just saying, like, don't call yourself a science purist and be the one in charge of testing your own business model. That alone should disqualify you from calling yourself a science purist. You're part of a system that promotes a certain thing, and you're doing the testing based on the system that brings you money.
Yeah.
What is the incentive of proving yourself wrong? Don't call yourself a science purist when you do that, just to start with. And by the way, if you insult Isaac Newton, that means you know nothing about science. But people have to understand out there, this is the fitness world today. It is very easy if you can manipulate the testing, so the apparatus of testing and the modalities of the testing, to make results say whatever the fuck you want. That's why you said it in one of the podcasts we did, where because keto is starting to come up with products like keto tea, selling ketones and all that stuff, you will have more and more studies saying that keto diet allows you to keep your strength while losing weight, to allow you to gain muscle while losing fat, while becoming stronger, while having a bigger dick, and all this stuff. It's coming.
For how many years did we hear like science-backed fucking discussions going on in government about law and regulation saying that there has never been a single case linking cigarette smoking to lung cancer?
The food pyramid.
Yeah, all of it. It's like,
I remember when they put Atkins in front of Congress saying you're going to harm Americans, when he said high fat, high protein diet, low carbs.
Yeah.
Those were scientists against him trying to put him in jail. Those were all PhDs, all people with initials behind their name.
Yeah.
Where are they now? So look at what you want to talk about. Look at the food pyramid. How many Americans has it killed? Yeah. This is designed by PhDs.
And I grew up. That was the thing. That's what they taught.
Still is.
That is nutritionally what I was taught.
Still is in many places.
Grains.
Yeah.
That is like the foundation. That is the foundation.
Not too much sugar, but you can have some. Yeah, you can have one Coca-Cola a day. It's not bad for you. I remember that Coca-Cola produced that study. One Coca-Cola a day is not bad for you.
4 out of 5 doctors prefer Chesterfield cigarettes. You know, that's
right.
Like so. I
remember when they put cocaine in cough syrups. That was 50 years ago.
Because
Those
it works.
Yes. That is. By the way, that is true. Yeah. Who distributes the most painkillers today?
I don't know.
Right? Doctors. No, I mean, who are the biggest drug dealers out there?
For sure.
Doctors, they go look at the opioid situation in the US. You're going to tell me the fact that they gave painkillers to everybody for the last 50 years? Who do you think is creating the painkillers? The best mind in the medical world. They're all PhDs. They're all like super smart scientists, and they all do their double-blind studies. Even when they say that painkillers is there to help people. Oh, come on.
Yeah. And I don't know. The whole thing is maddening to me because I look at it like this. I don't want to be wrong often. Right? That's not like my jam is to like be like, fuck, I was fucking wrong. Yeah. The problem is the moment you're willing to really acknowledge that you were wrong, then you're right.
Yes.
That's the thing. It's like so just pursue what is right, and that's fucking way easier. It's a way easier way to live.
What is right is not about you. It's about finding how the shit works.
Yeah.
And to do that, we're going back to the podcast that we did. You need anecdotal evidence, you need logical evidence, and then you need empirical evidence. You need all three. I'm not thrashing empirical evidence. I'm thrashing putting empirical evidence as a higher authority. When you do that, you take out the human element and you make it into putting it into the power, into the hands of people more powerful than you, which is why they say, do you have a study to show what you... Because what they're saying is, I can't believe you, the human, so I want someone else better than you to tell me that you're right.
I want the power from on high to tell me what I can and can't.
Exactly. And that is a culture. So there's a scientific, but first I want to talk about a cultural. That fear of failure that I see, because that's what that guy is so afraid of failing. It's like you're not acknowledging your failures. It's like I'm a science purist and I struggle with the fact that coaching is not an exact science and everything. There is no exact science. Even the computer that we have here, because of quantum mechanics, we still cannot test through empirical evidence certain things of quantum mechanics because it's too small for us to test. And half of it, we still don't even know what it means. We can use it, we still don't know what it means. We're not going to stop having computers because we can't figure out the shit. How are we going to figure out the shit if we don't use it anyway? Right? So it's that fear of making mistakes. If you look, and that's something we're talking about, is to me the fear of mistake is a byproduct of a very conservative Protestant culture. The fitness industry is obviously ruled by the US.
Yeah.
And I think
the fittest country on earth, I might add. I don't know if you've
exactly
been around.
Right, obviously.
But
it's like porn.
Yeah.
Right? It's like they produce the most porn and the most sexually repressed people ever. Anyway. But so to me it comes from that Lutheran doctrine, conservative Protestantism, but that salvation is given not through your good deeds but through God itself. But one of the things that came out culturally out of the Lutheran doctrine is that idea that if you succeed, God favors you. God loves you if you succeed. That's why you see in the US that worshipping of money, because money meant success, and success means God's love toward you. Right? And so you can see how that has shaped the US, that you have to prove it, like then you take it too far and then the end justify the means, and because that's also what it means. Is you're successful, God loves you, means the end justify the means. Because you turn that too far and
Whatever
you're like, all I gotta do,
Yep.
You're going to succeed, because if you succeed, you already have your redeeming factor that God loves you, and that's all you need.
Yeah.
That is the easiest way to have the end justifying the means, is to go through the Lutheran doctrine. So the US being a very conservative Protestant culture, I don't know if people that are around the world realize how far this goes, right? It dominates that the fitness industry, and one of the side effects that you get out of that is that what happens if you don't succeed? Then that means God does not love you. And before you know it, making a mistake means God hates you. And so now you have that higher authority that is telling you that you are such a wrong person, undeserving of love because you failed. Yeah, so you could see how self-hatred and that fear of making mistakes would come in just constantly.
Yeah.
Like, after Brussels, we come back, right, and we stop in Eindhoven, and which is in Holland as well. But it turns out that Utrecht is in the Bible Belt. We're in the
really?
conservative Protestant area of Holland.
Not your neighborhood.
Not always.
Not quite.
So we walk around Eindhoven, and I'm looking at a church, and I'm like, wait, that's a Catholic church. I'm like, Kyla, that's a Catholic church. That's not a Protestant church. Look, there's Jesus. People don't know, like, you can't have a depiction of Jesus on statues and stuff like that on a Protestant church. So I'm like, that's a Catholic church. Then I start to look around, and I'm like, people are different here. And they are. Like, we walked around, suddenly Kyla said, can we move here? So we're going toward Eindhoven of the Hague, by the way, because I start to look at a map, the Bible Belt, to know where
That's out closer by the beach too, right?
That's the Hague, yeah.
Okay. I could get into that.
Yeah. And so, but Eindhoven was super nice, and people were completely different. And I was like, I bet you they're not Protestant here, they're Catholic. And so I started mapping, and I was right. Here is very Protestant. So what I see in Protestant culture is that fear of failure. I've noticed that with the Dutch here, is if you catch them in a mistake, look how aggressive they are.
I watched a man today. This is funny that we didn't even talk about this. I was bicycling behind a pretty attractive young woman to where I thought, oh, she must be going to the same gym that I'm going to.
Yeah.
Lucky day.
Yeah.
And some fucking guy pretty much kind of drifted into where she was going, cut right in front of her.
Yeah.
Then to respond, like, just stopped.
Yeah.
So like she kind of hit him, crashed like pretty hard. And she had her headphones and she just kind of mumbled something and got drug off and goes away. This guy starts yelling at her. And his exact words were, I guess it's something about my intelligence, huh?
Yes,
and I'm like, I'm right here. And I just said, what the fuck is your problem, dude?
Yeah.
Ding! And then fucking kept biking off. But yeah, same day, that dude cuts a guy off and he's like, well, fuck you.
Because I've noticed here, like when you do something either unexpected or you catch them in a mistake, they'll get very aggressive, right? Yeah. But look at the US culture, right? So if whenever you succeed, God loves you, the first thing that would die is compassion. Mm-hmm. So look at in the US when someone makes a mistake, it's like, well, fuck you, dude.
Yep.
Like if you succeed, we'll worship you, but the second you make one mistake,
we'll worship you at no matter what happened to get you there. But the moment you make a mistake,
then compassion is gone. Well, yeah. So the second people are right, and they start to go like this, and they love being right. It's that fear of mistake, because mistake means God does not love you. By the way, God still loves you, even if you actually believe in the guy in the sky. He would still love you no matter what. But if he actually existed. But that's what it struck me looking at people here, because I'm watching them train, and if you look the way they train, it's all about doing the movement. Mm-hmm. And like that's what I saw on YouTube, and I'm going, yeah, but it's not working, you're not doing your lats. The problem is when you go with that, looking for the higher authority, then you go on YouTube, watching video on how to lift, and as long as you lift the way that guy said that, you will be successful. Because higher authority tells you to, even though the only thing that will make you successful is making the movement yours. Is going through anecdotal evidence, going like, do I feel it? Do I not feel it? Let me try this way because I can't feel that way. Good. You're experimenting. You're trying the shit. You're a human being. I think that reliance on empirical evidence, in a way, comes from that fear of experimenting yourself, because it comes from the fear of making a mistake, because then it means God does not love you. I see it here now, everywhere I look. That uptight, and every time they're not sure about something, there's that aggression that comes in because, well, what are you saying? Are you saying God does not love me?
Yeah. Well, and there's a lack of ownership to it all too, because you can now put it all on this thing.
Exactly. And
I don't have to make the decision to trust you in the things that you say. Like somebody who has power needs to just tell me that's cool, so I don't have to fucking think about it.
But look at the American culture right now. If it's not that,
and if you
political,
and if you look even at why a lot of these religious constructs exist in general, listen, people are really afraid of things that they don't know for sure about. Things like dying, what happens after you die, like all those things are fucking scary, dude.
And so he gets.
And so there's a thing.
He
now,
opens a door.
There's a thing now that's going to explain this to you. And it's going to explain it to you, and it's put together in a way that's so you're going to adopt that, and you're going to adopt everything that science or religion is dropping on you without question.
Exactly.
Just because it has the title.
So,
but because you take that, now you don't have to take anything else. Like you don't have to take responsibility for engaging in anything else, because you're always going to turn back to these two things for validation.
And that's what will kill you. So that guy who sees a science purist actually is going the other way. It's a religious mindset. What is appealing to a higher authority to tell him what to think.
And that echo chamber thing it's comfortable. That's why. Listen, I've had conversations.
It also
with
means
people,
God loves you because you're successful.
Yeah, and I've had conversations with people. You can have conversations with people that are political or religious in nature. If it's the right person and they want to, if they literally want to be like, I want to figure out where you come from, and I want to figure out where this comes
Then
from.
there's a conversation
and that
going
totally
on.
makes sense. And some people are just fucking dicks. And those
No,
conversations
but look
spiral
how
out of
much
control.
they appeal to higher authority every time. It's like,
For sure.
well, I read a study that said differently. Look at, like, for example, going back to the nutrition or all the stuff we do, no one challenges us on the logical points of the equation. All they do every time is they go back to that guy said this or this study said that. They appeal to a higher authority so they don't have to engage you into the argumentation of the actual point you made.
Yeah.
That's the easiest way out. It's like, well, a higher authority told me not to believe you. So, but fine, but that's not science.
That's it. That's the thing.
This is not science. So when you come at me saying, show me the study, most of the time, that might not be all of you, but what I'm hearing is I need a higher authority to tell me that it's okay to believe you. Whereas what I want is like, go try the shit. Because what you're doing is you're negating the human element to me. What you're doing is you're saying like, I don't need to try or I won't try until a higher authority tells me to. That negates the human element of things, which is where we learn in the first place.
It's the same trap I fall into with everything from business to learning, just coming with ideas and the concept of with everything, right? Is I'll come up with something, it's an idea, something you think you want to. And with everything I can justify in my head, I think that's a good idea, right? But
that's step one.
That's step one. But the first thing very often a person wants to do is, I need somebody else to make sure that they tell me this.
Because you skip.
Because I don't want to own it fully.
No, well, and then that's basically the neurological part I want to get into. That explains why you switch to that. Because you skip step 2, which is let me go experiment and see if I'm right or wrong.
Yeah.
That's the part you skip. And then you go 3, let me make sure I'm right, and then higher. So that neurologically, it's what we call a diva brain, and then I'll go into the next podcast, because how long are we into it?
We're over an hour.
Okay, I'll do it for the next one.
Okay.
Because otherwise I'll get tired. So because I want to map all this from a neurological perspective, from evolutionary biology, which I guess is my God then, as to where it comes from is why neurologically we are bound to do that, because there are certain, that's how the system is built, right? That's a Carl Friston, we'll go over the Carl Friston, we'll go over behavior, and what I call the diva brain, that's my name, that's not his, what I call the diva brain, and why we are, how easy it is, we actually need that process to anchor predictions, right? The problem is we have a religion figure out a shortcut, and today's society is feeding a shortcut where you don't have to take action, you just have to believe. So it's knowledge versus belief. But my problem with that is that first of all, it negates the human element, and second of all, you cannot learn from that. So that's why I'll go into it into the next podcast, but that was so important because, for example, how did I learn from Paul? I didn't learn from watching YouTube and asking my coach Alex what to do in the situation or stuff like that. I had to go at the pool tournament, experiment the shit firsthand, get in the shitter and then not play well and everything, and then go through the 2.5 hours this morning of feeling like shit, but processing the stuff so I could find my way out. What I found might not help any of you on anything. Maybe you will, maybe you won't, but if it can help because you experiment your way. But without the experimentation, there would be no learning. So without experimentation, what you have is you have mental flexibility. So when you read studies and on experiment, when you read studies about how to lift, you gain flexibility, you gain more information.
Yeah, you have information on this subject,
not
and this
knowledge.
subject, and this subject.
You don't have knowledge, you have information, which is flexibility, which is range of motion without tension, which means in a vacuum, all that shit is true. But once you put tension, like, yeah, okay, so you want to do this, all right? In a vacuum, maybe. But now, without experimentation, so you have flexibility. With experimentation, you get mobility, which is that range of motion under tension. And that's where mental mobility is. It's range of motion under tension. You need the tension. The tension is experimentation. Yeah. Without experimentation, there is no learning because learning is mental mobility. That's what it is. I learn faster because I have greater mental mobility than you. So that's why I can learn faster than you. Then you want to catch up? Get mental mobility. That's how you learn faster. And that's what the point of life is, to learn. So you will be better by understanding the importance of experimentation. And that's anecdotal evidence. Stop. And I'm begging you, all of you out there, stop with that that worship of empirical evidence that is religious thinking, not science thinking, because especially in the fitness industry, there is no such thing as true empirical evidence. This is shaped by the testing itself and the way we test. The instrument used for the testing shapes the study.
I like it. I think that's a tremendous cutoff point.
And then we'll explain neurologically why on the next one.
Yeah, I think we teased that all pretty good. Let's get out the fun stuff.
Lauren.
Yes, this should be.
This comes out tomorrow, right?
I don't know if it will or not. Probably not, but I'll try to get it out. We'll either extend her fundraiser another week if we can.
We'll extend. All right, so let's talk
or
about
I'm going
the
to try to
fundraiser.
push this out as quickly as I
want
can.
to call in the debt. Yeah.
Yes. So, Julian's got. Or I'll do the not fun stuff. So you need to stick around for the end of this. StrongFit.com. That's where everything else is. StrongFitEquipment.com. StrongFitEquipment.eu. StrongFit1 on Instagram.
StrongFit1. Yeah.
If you're in Australia, Manta Fitness.
Yeah, that's for the sandbags and all that stuff.
For the sandbags.
StrongFit equipment.
Now,
let's
I need
start.
you to pay attention to this. I also need you to. I'm going to cut this into a clip.
Yeah.
And I need you to share this.
Yes. This is the fundraiser we're doing for Lauren, her husband Tom. So Tom needs a heart transplant. Tom was at a hospital last year. He's been waiting for the heart transplant for like 2 years, 3 years?
Since I met Lauren, it's almost 2 years.
Oh no, because he knew that. Even when they were married, they knew that from the beginning. So he's been waiting forever.
It's more than 2 years as far as I know.
Yeah. He's waiting for a heart transplant. The last hospital he was in kicked him out. Why? Because he was judged such a high risk of dying on the table that they didn't want to do it, because then he would lower the chance to get grants or some heartless shit like this.
Yeah.
Oh my, American system, right?
Yep.
Sure. Yeah. See, it's sometimes the socialist. Anyway, so they found a place where he's actually listed. He's waiting for the transplant. Now he's waiting for the donor, right? But so that's great. But he's out of state and he has to stay at the hospital waiting for the transplant, because otherwise his health will go down.
Which
so
means
that means
Lauren
he's not working.
There's travel and time away. And
Lauren
Tom
has to
can't
go
work.
there to spend time with him, has to come back. She's working because he can't work, so money is tight, and then she feels extremely alone in the process, and so does he. I can only imagine, man. Lauren married him knowing he might die in the next few years of the hard stuff and everything. So, and Lauren is someone who will never ask for help and would help anybody. They're just not capable of. She would never ask, right? And so we decided to do a fundraiser for her. And all right, so if you have learned anything from us, right, on the podcast, then you owe us, and we're calling in the debt. So I want you guys to give $5 at least. I'm calling the debt of we've taught you guys a lot of stuff, right? Hopefully. I know I get enough messages telling me that. All right. So we're calling in the debt. Donate something. It's not just the money. It's because when Tom checks every day, every hour to see how much, and we've already got them like 12 grand, I think, which is awesome. So the money matters, but it's not just that. It's when they see another person donating, they feel less alone.
Yeah.
He's on his fucking hospital bed. He feels less alone when you donate. So we're calling in the debt, donate something to them, and then we have the workout we want you to do. And do the workout and tag them on it, because it makes him feel better, and Lauren as well.
Yeah. And I can tell you this, knowing Lauren for sure, 100% that she would do the same for you.
Yeah, she'll never ask for help, but so we have a workout for that, but donate. He'll help them.
That's what we need.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys, and we'll see you next week.